All right, welcome everyone to the first day of the week of July 12th for our first Q&A, private Q&A session. And I already have a question. Please feel free to throw in more questions or raise your hand and I can give you microphone privileges to ask that question. So the first question is fairly quick to answer. What S&P 500 ETF I would recommend? And the most popular and the most liquid one is, of course, SPY. So SPY is probably the ETF you want to use, has a very low expense ratio as well. We can go to screen share. I can go right here and I can pull up SPY. That is the S&P 500 ETF. And there it is. It will look exactly like the S&P 500. It's at about 1/10 the cost of the S&P 500 at S&P 500 at $436 a share. All right, more questions. Oh, we should take a look how that drone company is doing. FLT. Oh, it popped a little more this morning. You can try to keep an eye on that. I don't know if you're still in this trade, Jovita, or not, but yeah, I don't know if I would still be in this trade. Depends how much money you made. May not be a bad idea to take some profit off the table. I haven't looked up the news why this thing went up, but. All right, I see you have another stock to look at. Let's take a look at ACST. Acasti Pharmaceuticals, okay. Is on an MRI buy. The pharmaceutical stocks have been doing very well because, well, COVID. We are in a bit of an uptrend. We broke the resistance line a while ago. It had good earnings. It then crashed on those earnings. It pulled all the way back. It found support at the moving average, and it's now on an MRI buy. I actually think this is a decent long trade. You have nice support there. You have already bounced off a moving average. Granted, the earnings certainly help bounce the price up. You have been under this average for a while, and I do like this as a long opportunity. So as a long opportunity, let's say you enter right now on the MRI buy, a reasonable stop loss could be below the swing low or below the moving average. That is a 5.5% risk. Where would your target be? Well, I don't like talking about targets, but I mean, you have as high as the MRI resistance line. That should be at least a 2-to-1 ratio. That was like a 2.5-to-1 ratio. I don't like projecting my targets, as you guys know, but something like this, and we can keep an eye on that. I think this asset can certainly go back halfway up this candle, up to the new MRI resistance line, and it is a cheap stock at only 50 cents a share. My stop loss would be below that moving average, and I would use this moving average as my guide. So yeah, so I would certainly lean bullish on this asset over bearish. We could check the weekly scale. The weekly scale doesn't look too bad. Yeah, so there you go. All right, throw in your questions, guys. Throw in your questions or raise your hand. I'm not going to say this is a great trade, but it is a trade. I would have preferred it much better if the MRI buy came a few days earlier, but not perfect. All right, come on, guys. We have a lot of people. I know you have some questions. There we go. Can you take a look at silver weekly chart? Yeah, we can do that. It looks to be bouncing off the bottom trend line of an ascending triangle with a possible MRI star coming. Let's see. I don't see much of a triangle. It's consolidating near the bottom. It had a weekly MRI buy here. Oh, actually, sorry, weekly MRI sell there. That was a good timed sell. Very good timed sell. Wow. I don't know. It's just not interesting to me. It's just not it. This is the daily. I can look at the weekly, but it's just doesn't look very interesting. I guess I can see the big triangle here. It's just, I don't know, it's not interesting. If silver goes above $28, it then becomes interesting for a big upswing. Yeah, I can see the triangle now. You have to zoom out quite a bit. Yeah, that's a triangle. That is a triangle. But it's not going to be interesting to me until we're near the top of that triangle. So once again, you need to get above $28. You need to get above $28. Silver was 50 bucks 10 years ago. 10 years ago. With the amount of money that they printed, and silver is still at a 50% discount. It, like, to some people, this may seem like silver is undervalued, but to me, it just shows how useless silver is as an investment. Now that Bitcoin exists. All right, can you look at metric USD? Oh, Matic USD. What the hell is Matic? Sounds like a shitcoin. All right, Matic USD. It's on Coinbase? Man, they're really going into shitcoin land. It looks terrible. Looks absolutely terrible. This looks like a giant ascending triangle, descending triangle. That is really coming to an end. I think this thing is about to crash. But that's what it looks like versus the dollar. But it's also possible Bitcoin can crash versus the dollar, right? So how does it look versus Bitcoin? looks equally terrible. Chart looks terrible. It's actually already broken. Looks like it's already broken the bottom. Yeah, I would not expect much out of this. Yeah, that looks really bad. It's probably going to head back to this area. That's support. Just above the MRI support line is your support. So that is where this thing is probably headed. Hope you're not long this thing. I don't see anything positive I can say other than MRI bottoms coming in about 4 days on a daily chart. That's it. I didn't even look at the short-term timeframes on Bitcoin, but there's nothing interesting there. It's consolidating too much, so short-term timeframes are not interesting. Tesla. Tesla looks bullish, relatively speaking. Look, it's above the moving averages, all of them. All the moving averages are somewhat rising. They're just not all above each other properly. You still need the 50 to get above the 200, which I'm assuming those are. No, looking at the wrong indicator here. Yeah, 20, 50, 200, as I expected. Still need the 50 to go above the 200, but that's a bullish candle. You're going to have a green star candle tomorrow. If it keeps going higher, you're going to break the consolidation. Look, Tesla hit an MRI top. It had a little bit of a correction, a little longer than I would have expected. And it reversed fate. The market is higher. Tesla is nowhere near its all-time high. They're still holding $1 billion in Bitcoin. I just don't see why Tesla stock would go down. I know they're going to start losing money on their carbon credit scam, but Tesla stock looks good. We can go to the weekly chart. Same thing. The short, the intermediate, and the long-term moving average, they're not perfect, but they're not bad. It has a little bit of a descending triangle shape going on. Also, the MRI is positive, and it could top in a couple of weeks. I don't know. I think Tesla can keep going higher into earnings, and then we'll see. We'll see what earnings brings. I mean, I'm just going to randomly flip through my list of stocks if no one's asking any questions. Holy shit, is Amazon bullish. But weekly extension C, so I should use daily charts. Still a little bit bullish, nearing a top. Google is bullish, consolidating, has a little more wiggle room. But look, the weekly is coming up close too. Netflix is kind of neutral. I wouldn't mess with it. Roku is leaning bullish. Apple is really bullish chart. Let's see what the MRI says. Apple could top soon. Look at this. Extension A, C, B, and the MRI tops coming soon. Euro. We'll look at Euro. Facebook, MRI top, 1 to 4 candle correction, doji candle off the moving average, and now we're bullish. That was a nice bullish trade on Facebook. Microsoft, everything's going to look bullish. The whole stock market looks bullish. Look at Ford bounce off the moving average. And an MRI buy today. Tilray, haven't looked at Tilray in forever. Let's look at Tilray, then I'll look at the Euro. Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting. It's an overall bearish posture, but the MRI buy is coming, and it's bouncing off a moving average. And look what happened the last time it bounced off the 200 moving average. So, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to message my friends about this one. Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, at the least, it should bounce into the moving average. Those that missed the buy opportunity here get another chance today. That's interesting. I'm gonna put one of these up here. Not trading advice. Risk a drop below the moving average, but not today, tomorrow. Entry, an ideal entry would be above current candle tomorrow. Reward's not that high. It's only into the moving average, but if it's strong, just keep going. But yeah, I'm gonna use current price. That's interesting. I just want to leave it here for future reference. All right, let's look at Euro. Let's look at the dollar first. I still struggle to see how the dollar is going to break the prior swing high. Euro versus the dollar. I've always been a big Euro bear, but not lately. Wow, look at the Euro bounce off the MRI. So the Euro bounced perfectly on the MRI buy. 1 to 4 candle correction, then reevaluate. I wouldn't go long now, the Euro. I'd wait a few days. But if this thing continues and it gets you a green star and it goes above the moving average, I would think the Euro is going to go up in value. So if the Euro goes up in value, the US dollar, DXY, goes back down. It's really hard. Look, all fiat currencies are terrible. I've always been a big bear on the Euro because I still don't see how the common currency will exist into the future. But at the same time, I'm now bearish on the US dollar. And Australia ain't any better, and neither is Canada. They're in full lockdowns. Japan is in somewhat of a lockdown. No one is allowed to watch the Olympic Games in person. It's just crazy. So what's left? China? Come on. Russia? There's no good fiat currency. That's why we like Bitcoin. The only good currency left in the world. Starbucks looks really bullish. A few more days, then the MRI top comes. GE does not look bullish at all. But I wouldn't short anything right now because the market is bullish. If the market starts to turn, this looks terrible. Look, it's been supported by the MRI support. Look how many times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 times. How long do you think that can continue? I think this thing is going to break down and go down to the 200-day moving average. So it's, again, not a trade, but man, I'm bearish on this thing. Oh wait, I should do it the other way. Target, the moving average. Stop loss, I guess for now above the prior swing high, but very quickly lowered all the way to the moving averages. So I'll put it somewhere in between there. Not bullish GM at all. I have no idea what box is. Oh, what a beautiful MRI fell. How come I never go through these on like the day this happens or the day after? Wow, look at that. And you're potentially breaking MRI support now? Man, well, too late. Trades missed. Twitter. I can't believe Twitter is a bullish looking chart. Yeah, it's a bullish chart. GoPro is now a $10 stock. Wow. Look at that beautiful MRI buy there. Square. Looks bullish. That's just oil. And I don't care for oil companies right now. Is that Boeing? How's Boeing doing? Man, that was a big crash and COVID and all kinds of bad for Boeing. It seems to be doing okay, actually. The moving average is rising. I wouldn't mess with it, though. JMIA. It's not looking good, but the MRI bottom's coming, but it's consolidating. I would stay away from it. Lyft, not interesting. Uber, not interesting. Zoom. Look at that. Look at that MRI top. You got the warning candle day before. I wouldn't mess with it now. Twilio. Oh, that's a bullish chart. That's a bullish chart. I know it had like 3 consecutive lower lows here, but it's been stair climbing up. Man, this thing breaks 400, it can definitely move. Throw one of these on as well. I'm going to put a couple of days out at 400. Risk, moving average. Yeah, this thing hasn't gone up in over a year. Yeah, I can see it going to 500. I'm just curious how this develops. Next time I look at this thing could be like, I don't know, next year sometime. So I'm just curious how this develops. I like the bullishness of the chart. Earnings is coming though, so I would never take the trade, but Whoa, what is this? Man, they've done well. Jeez. I mean, it's too late, like a year or two, but too late, but beautiful chart. Oh, that's an Indian stock. Not really interested. Budweiser? Ooh. I guess people drank all the beer during lockdowns, huh? That's interesting. The low hasn't been broken. Wish this thing was closer to the moving average. It's fallen quite a bit. I mean, beer sales shouldn't go down that much. It's been up a lot since COVID. Yeah, I really wish that MRI buy came with the moving average. But if this thing hits the moving average again, it'd be interesting. It's a big pullback. Beautiful MRI top here. Spotify. But no idea it's such an expensive stock. No comment. I haven't gone through these in forever. I have way too many. Oh, how are the cruise lines doing? All right, I gotta move through this faster. I wish. Oh, I can use this. Okay, great. I don't have to use my mouse. Ooh, this is good. Expensive stock though. What is Illumina? People are asking where they can find the recorded sessions. They're publicly available on the weekend. So this will get slightly edited and be released on Sunday. I kind of like the breakout, but the better breakout was here. So unfortunately, the time to buy this thing was the break of the MRI resistance line here. I think it's a little too late. Canaan, $6 stock now. Wow. Wow. There's a lot of mining equipment out there. Man, if Canaan comes back down to $5, that could be interesting. I would also keep an eye on this going into the MRI buy. Because look what happened the last time. Adobe. Probably has a lot of demand these days. Photoshop can be useful in days of COVID. And papers, please. Oh, fake meat. Jesus, I don't even want to look at this. Virgin Galactic. Didn't they just go into space? Why is their stock crashing? United Airlines. Oh, they've been making money off of me. That's for damn sure. Under Armour. I was so pissed at this. I put up a bunch of trades on Under Armour in COVID, thinking sports are going to come back, and they just weren't coming back. But I was heavily long Under Armour. But that trade, while it made a little bit of money, not the kind of money I anticipated. Triple M. Okay, here we go. Cruise lines. Shit, that would have been perfect. Oh, damn. Look at that MRI buy. This time I'll text my friends, tell them you missed it. See, this is beautiful. MRI buy after a big drop right at the 200-day moving average. Did it make you a lot of money? No, but it was certainly a profitable trade. Even if I just use the opening price, you know, that's 4%, 5% in one day off the open. And you're still up. And you can set a break-even stop loss. Same thing. Let me see what the MRI says. It's not as good on the MRI though. Same thing. They're all the same. AMC, that's not meme stock, right? I don't care. Another one, Groupon. Look at that. Groupon still looks good right now. A little late for the trade, but extension B, MRI buy. You know, I still think it's good into the moving averages. Your stop loss would have to be the 200-day. This is not capitulation I'm looking for in Bitcoin. Like structure-wise, you know, we're consolidating, making lower highs, making consistent lows, and then boom, in 2 days, this stock falls 10%. Now for Bitcoin, that's going to be closer to 20%, but 10% for a $40 stock, that's significant. DraftKings, they've taken a bit of a hit. Chart doesn't look good, but man, if this thing breaks out, it can go back to new all-time high. Oh, another one. That's a big correction. If this thing is ready to bottom, look, it came down. Wow, that's a nice stock. You know, just going through these stocks and like texting my friends to keep an eye on some of them, I'm like, damn, maybe I should start a hedge fund. I really like this, but not for a short, for a long, because it has fallen so much. I have no idea what the company does. I'm just looking at the chart. Now, I would never buy this right now because the chart looks very bearish, but it just fell 50%. It's bouncing off an MRI support, and while it's very unlikely it's going to have an MRI buy opportunity, this thing can finally level off and the moving averages can reverse. So this looks interesting to me, and it's fallen to the prior area of support. The MRI is not very useful on this. How's the weekly looking? Maybe on a weekly scale. You know, the last few earnings, the last earnings didn't do very well. I don't know. If this is profitable company with clients and revenue. Interesting, 50% correction. And gaming is still hot. All right, that's it. That's all I got. All right, final set of questions. Every time on the weekly, we hit the 200 exponential moving average and then continue for Bitcoin. Is this a high likely scenario? I'm not sure. I don't really look at the exponential moving averages on Bitcoin. You also did a weekly 200 exponential. That's pretty far down. That's below 20K. Yeah, if we fall down to 17K, I'm gonna try to sell a kidney and buy more Bitcoin. I don't see us falling that low. Anything's possible though. All right, last question. You think the new Paraguay news actually going to pump Bitcoin? Well, I'm not sure what the news is going to be. What if all those low-income countries adopt Bitcoin and Bitcoin drops a lot? I don't see it dropping by them adopting it. No, I see it as a good thing. I think Bitcoin is getting ready to bottom. I don't see it going down for much longer. All right, guys. Took a quick look at a bunch of stocks. Had a few questions. I'm gonna go ahead and leave it here. And thank you all for watching the Q&A. And I'll catch all of you on the next one. Bye, guys. All right, and we are recording for our second Q&A of the week. Today is Wednesday, July 14. We got a couple of questions here from the private Q&A. Do you think this is the rebound? No, I don't. When do you think Bitcoin dumps? Sometime either later this month or early next month. We can go to the chart really quickly. Oh, wow. This thing rebounded literally just now in the last 5 minutes. What happened? No, I don't think this is a real rebound. It was just another touch of the bottom side of the triangle. Until we get above this area, I mean, maybe we can lower this area a little bit. We can maybe lower it down to 35,250. So until we break this, until we break the 20-period moving average, like as long as we're still in this triangle, I'm going to stay bearish. And I still think the big capitulation crash is coming down to the mid 20,000s. I don't see how the last couple of hours are going to alter my view on that. Do you think some special event is needed to dump the price of Bitcoin, or will it go down eventually organically? Would you prefer some special event, or would you like it to go down gradually? No, I'd rather have it go down suddenly with some kind of an event. That always panics people a little bit more, and that creates an opportunity for those that are paying attention to catch it. Because if it goes down naturally and organically, it can take months. But if it goes down suddenly, like with an event, it could only take a couple of days, like what happened back in March of last year with the COVID event, and Bitcoin just crashed very suddenly, and then it started rising up. So I'd rather have this than a gradual slow bleed, because a gradual slow bleed could take a long time. How is the MRI? I can't explain how the MRI works in 5 minutes, because it takes 5 hours. So, I mean, if you have the MRI, you have a 5-hour video that educates you on the MRI. If you don't have the MRI, which you are purchasing when you pick up the MRI, is the 5-hour video really and access to the code. But I certainly cannot explain how the MRI works in 5 minutes. That is actually impossible. Also, please use the Q&A button for questions, not the chat feature. Makes it much easier for me to manage this. When trading, if your price target is hit, but it is not in line with the MRI bottom, do you still enter the trade? Probably not. So I don't like price targets. I really don't, because something can go down forever and something can go up forever. So I don't necessarily like price targets. When I did something like this on, say, Tilray, is that Tilray? No. When I did something like this on Tilray, you can see how I have a price target, but that target was totally random. I hate price targets. I put them in randomly, and then I evaluate, do I want to exit the trade if the target is hit or broken, or do I want to stay with the trade? What if the target never got touched? Is it still time to exit a trade? So if I have a price target, but my MRI is telling me to buy and the price target hasn't been hit yet, of course I'm going to buy. And if the price is crashing right through my target, there's no reason for me to buy. So I don't like price targets in general. I prefer just finding good opportunities to go long or good opportunities to get out or go short. I don't necessarily pay that much attention to, oh, it hit exactly $3.25 and that was my target. I don't like trading that way. I know most traders trade that way, but I am not a big fan of that system. Can you take a look at SU on the New York Stock Exchange? Yeah, it doesn't look good. It looks like it's ready to keep going down. You can see the monthly MRI top happening this month. You can see the MRI monthly top happening this month. So I would be really careful. You can also see the MRI buy happening right here earlier. So I would kind of stay away from this. The weekly is indicating a bearish trend, almost hit an MRI top, topped out one candle early. And the daily is breaking prior swing lows, and the MRI count is still going down. So if anything, this is a decent short, but the price of the asset is kind of low. So I don't like shorting assets under 25 bucks. So this looks very bearish to me. Yeah, I'm having mic problems. Oh, I guess it got fixed. Yeah, sorry guys, these are usually longer, but I really wanted to do, I'll try to do another one later this week. All right, since literally everybody's expecting Bitcoin to drop and the number of shorts are piling up, guys, so Syed, please use the Q&A button to ask questions, not the chat feature. There's a Q&A button in the Zoom session. Everyone's expecting it to drop. Shorts are piling up. Is Bitcoin not prone to do the exact opposite of what people expect it to do? Well, sometimes, right? It's a chicken and egg situation, right? I'm expecting it to drop. Everyone's expecting it to drop. If everyone's expecting it to drop, some people expect it not to drop. So therefore, not everyone is expecting it to drop. So therefore, it can drop. So it's, I don't really care what other people think. I look at the charts and I let the charts guide me. So whether everyone else is bearish or everyone else is bullish, I don't know. Like it's not up to me to decide what everyone else is doing. I pay attention to some overall global metrics, like the funding rate, and the funding rate is back to being bearish, and therefore we could go bullish, but I'm still waiting for a spike in the funding rate. Now, back in the day, weekly chart, I thought this was the most obvious possible triangle for a crash from 6,000 down to 3,000. I thought everybody saw it. I thought everyone was expecting it, and yet it still happened. Because for some reason, nobody was expecting it. So you don't know what other people are thinking or saying. Can you give an opinion probability on Tesla January 2021 calls at $1,000 strike? Closed yesterday at $26. January 21st calls on Tesla. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up the chart of Tesla. So Tesla going to new all-time high and breaking $1,000 by January. You get 6 months for a big run up in Tesla to double in price for $25 on the call option. Ah, man, that's hard. That's hard. If Tesla was above 750, I would say, yeah, that's easy. It should probably do it. Not much of an opinion. Remember, it has to go at least $25 above 1,000 for you to actually profit. But if it goes above 1,000, you'll probably do it. Look, the options market has priced Tesla very accurately. I mean, that's what the options do. It's there's no secret here. Like, the value of the probability that Tesla is going to be above $1,000 in January is $26. I mean, that's what it'll cost you to find out. Well, times that by 100, right? So it'll cost you $2,660 to control 100 shares of Tesla that they'll break 1,000. I don't. I wouldn't buy those calls. Most options expire worthless for a reason. So if you're going to trade options, I hope you've taken my options class, and perhaps you can do some kind of a spread and lower that 26,000 to like $26 outlay to like a $10 outlay or something like that. You know. Matic. What is Matic? I'm assuming Matic the shitcoin. It looks terrible. It looks like a disaster. I think I looked at this not that long ago. It still looks terrible. It looks like it's going to go down hard. Matic versus Bitcoin. Looks just as bad. I mean, I'm expecting it to go all the way down to at least the prior swing high that has that MRI sell on it. Like, looks terrible. Chart looks terrible. From what Bitcoin price did I start buying? That doesn't really matter. I already can answer that to family members. Can you take a look and see if there is a cup and handle breakout on gold daily? Gold daily. Well, not really, because, well, it's weekly. No, because like the handle used to be small. I'm trying to find an example of a cup and handle here. I don't really see it. No, not a cup and handle to me. Oh, gold daily is coming up on an MRI top. I didn't even see that. So gold, beautiful MRI buy here. Not beautiful. I mean, like this would have been rough to handle, but an MRI sell's coming. If gold pops tomorrow, that could be an exit, short-term exit. Is my mic working again? Yes, no. Yeah, it's working. All right, guys. No more questions for now. Thank you all for hanging out in this private Q&A. Like I said, they're usually longer. I usually hang out for a good 30 to 45 minutes at least. Today's had to be a little bit shorter. I'll try to do one more later in the week and next week as well, and we'll keep going. All right. Come with questions. Come with questions. I got one more. Oh, you meant for what price range would I start buying? Oh, okay. It sounded like, well, like what was the, like when did you start buying Bitcoin like back in the day? Look, if you're a long-term dollar cost average person, I'd be buying already. Other than that, I would start buying after the low, after the break of the low. Like the moment it breaks 28K, I'd start buying immediately because I don't know if it's going to bottom at 27K or 20K. So for me, I got a bunch of limit orders set under 27 and a half. But that's me. Doesn't mean I'm going to be right. All right, guys. Thank you all for hanging out. And I will see you all on the next one. Bye, guys. We're going to start with the non-chart question so I can get those out of the way. Hope you guys ready for some COVID questions or answers. Why do you think Fauci did what he did for vaccinations in this pandemic? Several reasons. One, Dr. Fauci is actually not very respected by people in his own field. So a lot of it was probably his own mistakes. Second, he was obviously very anti-Republican. He is a straight up Democrat. And getting rid of Trump, so anything Trump would do, Fauci would certainly recommend the opposite. And probably the most important one is his personal profit, based on all of his patents and his connections to the pharmaceutical space, how much money he would make by forcing every human on a planet inject themselves with a vaccine every 3 months, which is what's probably going to happen. Or it's like Brave New World, you know, you can go and live in the woods if they let you without a vaccine. We'll see. It's very, very frustrating. Like life is very frustrating with this vaccine bullshit. Okay. All right, I'll look at all the stocks in a minute. Why governments banning Bitcoin will make it go up faster? I don't know if it would. Government bans don't usually sit well with the price of Bitcoin. So if US and Europe ban Bitcoin, the price could crash significantly because remember, a Bitcoin ban forces GBTC and Grayscale to sell every single Bitcoin they have, which is about 150,000 Bitcoin. A ban on Bitcoin will crash the price of Bitcoin. It wouldn't rise, will let the price of Bitcoin rise. But now that Bitcoin becomes illegal, it's like drugs, right? Like drugs are very expensive when they're illegal because the person selling them to you takes on a very big risk. So same thing with Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin would keep rising because those selling it to you or those using it take on a very big risk, and they will want to be compensated for that risk. So we're going to go and take a look at tickers real. Oh, that does not look good. The real, what the hell do they do? I've never heard of this company. That chart looks horrible. So, brief history, beautiful MRI buy, into an MRI sell, consolidation, green star, back into the bullish mode here. Moving averages are not very friendly here. Another MRI sell, another consolidation, another star,
double extension ending, warning shot, MRI still bullish, red star, no way you should be holding this long on a red star, potentially going short. This had an opportunity to reverse the price, but look at this consolidation, look at this red star candle breaking the prior swing low. If I was holding this, I would rather hold it short than long right now. It is a $16.50 stock, so I would never short a stock this low in price. Very limited downside here. Do I think it's going lower? Yes, I do. I'm going to look for an MRI buy, similar to this MRI buy, hopefully without breaking the support line. So somewhere around 1450 with a nice MRI buy and maybe some volume, this thing could potentially tones volume. Oh, wow. How many times do I have this volume up? This is all tones volume, right? Jeez. I forget that it's like there. So you need some volume. Look at this volume. Look at this volume in the crash. And the volume up isn't great. So you need some volume. You need a little bit of volume. So all the metrics are bearish. Look at this. RSI, and MACD, and CMF, they're all telling you not to be long here, but potentially short. I would rather be short or wait for a buy. Very nice stock though. Definitely worth watching. Let's put it that way. Just let them know this might be a good buy around $14.50 or around $14 at MRI support plus MRI buy. If it keeps going down. If it keeps going down. Okay. Hey, Neil, I'll give you mic privileges if you want to add additional, like if you want to say something else. Okay. And you had one more to look at. CHD. See, this one is bullish. It is bullish. I like the consolidation. It's somewhat volatile. I like the moving averages here as well. They're going to be crossing over soon. Green star candle comes tomorrow. At first, I was a little concerned about the MRI resistance, but, you know, some bullishness tomorrow, not tomorrow, Monday, along with a bounce in the overall stock market. The problem is this. Earnings is coming July 30th. So you got about a 2-week window. That's enough to catch an MRI top? Barely. I would lean bullish here for sure. Look at the beautiful bounce off the MRI support. This is what I want to see from the real stock, but not in this facet of the MRI. What is up with my camera? Crazy. Is it my cord? Is it the connector? No idea. So I like it. This bounce was great off the support, but not off the MRI along with that support. And right now I'd be bullish. So if I was long this asset already, I would just keep holding. All right, so that question's answered. Mark, let's take a look. Tone, this weekly close will be lower low going back to 32,400 in January. This suggests beginning of a long-term downtrend, question mark. Well, it's tricky. This is going to be our lowest weekly low this year. Okay, The last time Bitcoin closed this low was December. So this will be the lowest weekly closing low, but it is not a swing low. In fact, we had a lower swing low back in May, and we're already midway through July. It's been 2 months. So time is on our side. Time is ending. I don't foresee a 1.5 year long bear market off the $65,000 top. It doesn't feel right. I know this is TA and there's no feelings involved, right? So the longest I will give this bear market is 5 more weeks, not including this one. 5 more weeks is as far as we go, okay? We can catch an MRI buy on a weekly scale. So we got 5 weeks to go. That takes us into August, late August. That is as far as I'm going to give it based on time. Fundamentals, the underlying fundamentals are still very bullish. They're still very bullish. So this can only last so long. Let's look at the funding rates. Funding rates are back, favoring the bulls. Just need one more spike. Just need one more spike across the board. I really think we're going to bottom out soon. The CME, I honestly don't really care that much about the CME because it doesn't trade on the weekends. Hey guys, put in more questions. All right, and then let's get to you next.
Yeah. So my question is, I was watching like a lot of Gregory Manarino, and he says that when the 10-year yield drops, so there's going to be a big sell-off in the debt market, then that's going to translate into the stock market, and then the stock market will sell off, then people will be in cash, and then people won't be, ideally won't be holding the cash because of hyperinflation, etc. Then this money will go into like cryptocurrencies and physical precious metals. Do you believe this is the case?
Not really. When a 10-year yield drops, I don't see everyone wants to sound so smart about the correlation between the 10-year yield and the stock market. I hate to break them the news. There is no correlation. There just isn't. Look, does it really matter if the yield is 1.5% or 0.5%? Who cares? You're speculating on Tesla stock. You're speculating on MicroStrategies. You're speculating on GameStop. Do you think GameStop do you think Wall Street Bets traders give a shit whether the 10-year yield is 2% or 1%? Who cares, right? Look what happened in early 2020. In early 2020, the yield crashed like a stone. What did the stock market do? It crashed as well, right? Had nothing to do with that. The yield was rising from August 2020 all the way into April. We can go back to the stock market. This is the weekly chart. And the stock market's rising, right? So now the yield is falling a little bit. Is the stock market crashing? No. They crash for other reasons. The stock market, when the Federal Reserve announces something stupid, speculators react. But as the yield is slowly moving, how much further can the yield go down? Let's say the yield slowly goes down back to 0.5% on a 10-year. Do you really think the stock market is going to fall lower than it was in COVID? Come on. That's insane. That is a 40-50% crash in the stock market. No, it's not like that. The stock market crashed, and the government crashed the yields in order to make money be cheaper for people to borrow it, right? Like, when money is cheap, if the 10-year yield is 5 basis points, right? Like this down here, it's free money. You're going to go and borrow this money and you're going to shove it into the stock market to speculate, because you can actually make a yield in the stock market. You can't make money out of 1.3%. So no, I mean, look, the yields have been falling. The yield is down 20% since March 22nd. How did the stock market do since March 22nd? Is it really March? Hold on. Yeah, I guess so. 10-year yield. Yeah, March 18. Okay. So let's go to the stock market, March 18. Maybe I'll use the weekly chart. Just easier that way. The third week of March. March, right there. Stock market is up 10%. Right? Where's the correlation? Right here, stock market crashes, yields crash. Stock market is down, what, 20%, 30%? Wherever it fell. February 10 to end of March. Stock market is down 35%. What about the yield? February 10 to end of March. That's December. Here, February 10, February 6, whatever. End of March. Yield is down 63%. Stock market is down 35%. That sounds like correlation, but how do you explain the last 3 months? Yield is down 20%, stock market is up 10%. There's no correlation there. There's absolutely no correlation. It's complete nonsense. No one gives a shit about the yield. Bond traders care, not stock speculators. For me, if I can borrow money and if I can, borrow money at almost nothing and put it in the stock market or into Bitcoin, it'll go up. So I don't see stock crash at all. Like, stock's going to crash for other reasons. Like, the bond market has not much to do with it. In fact, the lower the yield, the more the bonds you're holding are making money. But you're not going to buy new bonds. What's the point? The rise in yield will destroy your investment. So you're just going to put your money in the stock market instead. I really don't buy the yields are moving the market. I know every single fundamental analyst of markets always tries to connect the yield and the stocks. I don't. I think it's crazy. Good question, though.
Yeah, I guess you win. Can I have one more question, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was watching other analysts as well. So now we're going into the 4-year cycle. So the monthly cycles.
Are we talking Bitcoin now?
Yeah, Bitcoin.
Oh yeah. 4-year cycle in Bitcoin.
Yeah. So I guess the volume is decreasing a lot. The market cap is falling. If you look at the market cap, it's basically a blow off top. Do you think this 4-year cycle trend is going to end, or I don't know?
No, I mean, if we're in the middle of the 4-year cycle, what's the market cap thing?
Oh, the crypto market cap.
I know. What's the ticker?
I don't know.
Anyway.
No, right.
The crypto market cap isn't that interesting to me because it's mostly shit coins anyway.
Oh, Yeah, sure.
So I would just stick to the price of Bitcoin.
But we're in the fourth cycle, right? The fourth, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have my halvings listed up here. A lot of other people like always tweet about it as well. But when was the last halving? It was in May, right?
Yeah.
Where's May? May 2020, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it was here. Third halving. Yeah, we've done well since that halving, but I think we can do better by before the next halving. So we'll probably top before, like, here's the 2013 one's back there, and this one was in 2016 in July, right here, right before this crash. It was the halving was like here, early July, and we did well right after that halving. So we did well after this halving also, but I think there'll be one more peak next year. And then we go down, and then we're gonna start it again.
Okay.
All right, Rashul, we're back to your questions. If governments print money, it doesn't have to recoup that by taxes. No, it doesn't. Like so it implies no future liability for citizens. So why is it bad other than making rich more richer? Some detailed explanation. Well, right, governments, the tax revenue is never enough to fund the government, so they print money, and that's how you have the national debt. Now, if it's a national debt of a small country that owes that money to America, that becomes a problem for that country, because then America comes in and tells them what to do. But if that national debt is China or Russia or America, no other country is going to come in and tell them what to do. So American federal debt is actually not a big deal, because no one's coming here to collect. But it deteriorates the position of your economy, it deteriorates your currency, and eventually people stop believing in your monopoly money. So that's why printing is bad. And it does make the rich richer, which is also bad, because then the rich, like Bill Gates, become your farming and health monopoly, right? That's what Bill Gates says about your health, is what is the health policy. So the rich getting richer because of money printing enables people like Bill Gates to rule over their subjects. So lots of bad things going on there. All right, you got one more question. I know stringent KYC is really bad and getting out of control, but on a broader scale, why essentially is KYC bad, like you discuss? Well, KYC is a form of control. What is acceptable limits of KYC, according to me? So, my problem with KYC is it's a form of control. It's a way for governments to know exactly how much money you have, and historically, I really have no idea what the hell is up with my camera. And historically, the governments only care about other people's money, and they want to go after other people's money, and they use this as a political tool to freeze your bank accounts. So for me, the regulation should be done on those that are taking your money, not you as to putting your money in. Now, the private institution can ask, KYC questions for themselves. But I don't believe that the governments should have the ability to dictate the KYC policy and be in control of other people. Like, corporations have competition. If I don't like the way one bank does KYC, I can go to another bank. But this is a government policy, so they're all doing the same KYC for the government. The government uses the financial institutions for KYC. Same thing with cell phone companies, right? Like, why can't I just have a cell phone? Why can't I just talk to people? Like, there is ridiculous amount of KYC on your cell phones because they just want control and they want to listen on your conversation. They want to track you wherever you are. There shouldn't be any KYC on getting a cell phone. You want to go get a cell phone, get a cell phone. It's unacceptable. As long as I'm paying for that cell phone, as long as I'm paying to use that tower, it's completely unacceptable to take KYC information to speak to speak to other people. It's imagine if you had to do KYC to talk to a person in person, right, instead of over the phone. Like, technology should not alter freedoms. So, do I need KYC? Did I have to take your KYC information to do this Q&A? Maybe. I don't even know. Maybe I was supposed to write down exactly who you are, exactly where you live, and submit that to the government so that they know who I'm communicating with, right? Like, it shouldn't be that way. It's if I don't need if I'm walking down the street and you want to ask me for directions, do I have to ask you for KYC? Do I need to know who you are, where you live, all this information, your mother's maiden name, whatever other information, in order for me to answer the question to you, for some directions? And it should be no different with a cell phone. If you want to call me and talk to me, neither one of us should be KYC'd with the government for the permission to do so. It's very, very atrocious and very anti-freedom. It's one of the biggest travesties right now is the KYC AML laws. All right, we got a hand up. All right, Rashul, ask away. Unmute first.
Hey.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. You talked about the government's printing money translating to a national debt. So why is that the case? Like, why printing money converts to a national debt? Because essentially the printed money hasn't to be repaid back to anyone.
Okay, so this doesn't happen in all countries, but I can only speak for America because that's the system I'm familiar with. So the founding fathers of America knew how dangerous interest was, cumulative interest. You owe 10% interest and that piles on top of itself. So in order to prevent the government from printing too much money, they put in laws that the government is not allowed to print money. They could only borrow it into existence. And by borrowing it into existence, you owe interest on that money. Now, I can only assume that the rationale behind it was, since these people must also be somewhat smart, and they understand that interest will destroy you in debt. That if you have to borrow money and pay interest, you will borrow less money. Which in theory is kind of true. Like, if you have to pay a lot of interest, you're not going to borrow the money. If you have to pay a little interest, you'll be more interested in borrowing the money. Now, in order to get around this problem, the government borrows money from itself. So the government borrows the money from itself and it pays interest to itself. But paying interest to itself, you pay interest to private wealthy families. This is the big debate over, is the Federal Reserve private or public? The Federal Reserve is public. It's a government institution. Every employee of the Federal Reserve is a government employee. The president selects the chair of the Federal Reserve. It's a political position. It's not an economic position. It's all politics. All the federal banks, they're all public. They're government entities for money.
Why do you think
But
they separated the two entities, government and the central banks? Like,
no, it's the same entity. No, the central banks are government. It's a government entity, and they borrow money from themselves, but all that interest is paid to the rich private people. So private people, the rich families, your Rockefellers, all the other conspiracy names, all of those guys, they're like owners, they're investors in these federal institutions. So the interest that is paid to them. Now, the government doesn't pay very much interest. They're always restructured as debt. The problem with this debt is that the US debt is now $30 trillion, and 80% of that debt is cumulative interest. So while the founding fathers had good intentions to lower the amount of money the government can print by forcing them to borrow, they created a situation where they only printed 5 trillion, but they owe 30 trillion, or they only printed like 8 or 9 trillion in its history, but they owe 30 trillion. And the difference is the interest that piles on and piles on and piles on over the years. So this is another reason why the government has to keep interest rates low, because if the interest rate rises, that $30 trillion debt suddenly becomes 100 trillion. Because the interest rate goes to 5-7%, it's gonna, they have to restructure that debt. All of a sudden, it's gonna pile on top of piling on. So that's the issue. But yeah, governments are printing money as much as they want to obfuscate the fact that they're printing money.
Okay, but essentially, the government's printing money and becoming it a national debt, that is essentially the liability of the citizens, right?
Essentially, yeah, but it becomes irrelevant. Like, even if America taxes every single person 100% of their income, it's still not enough.
Yeah,
that's
the problem.
Still not enough. So this is why no one cares. This is why no one cares about national debt. Now, if you're a foreign company, if you're some island in the Caribbean, and then the US government says, well, either we're going to not lend you another dollar or let our companies come in and exploit your resources. They have control.
Okay.
But yeah, theoretically, you can just print the money and not borrow it. And then you don't have a national debt if you just print money. The problem is those printing money print too much, or they have stupid policies. People that print money also like to give away money. So what happened in Zimbabwe, they decided to just take away land of the private sector. So all the rich people left, and all they can do is print money. So they had no more economy. And that killed them.
I was really shocked. I was talking to my sister yesterday. She told me that in Australia, what they do is they give a home to a homeless who goes to the government and says that I don't have a home. They pay very high fees to the nurses for the citizens who is ill or something. And also above that, they have some sleep schools or something which teaches the infants to how to sleep, and all that is facilitated and funded by the government. And she was very happy about it, and I was like these things should not be funded by the government, because essentially you are the ones paying it, your future generations.
Right. And it's the mentality of the people that put those policies in. They just giving away money. I mean, unless you're earned that money, if you're a rich individual and you want to give away money, great. But if you're the government, you're giving away money, you're taking it away from other people to give it away. And when you don't have enough to take, then you start printing and destroying your economy to give it away. It doesn't matter how noble your cause is. Like, oh, I want to help these children. I mean, sure, you can help a couple of children, but you're going to destroy your entire country. But you won't be there to see it get destroyed because you're going to quit that job, or you're not going to be in government anymore, and you're going to move on. So it's bad. Like just printing money is very, very bad. Like
And
it's
people
one
don't
thing.
realize it.
It's one thing if you're building infrastructure, but a lot of this other stuff is not good. Build a stronger economy. If you have mentally ill homeless, which is many of the homeless, if you have mentally ill homeless, yeah, you should have something to help the mentally ill that don't have the family that can support them. But other than that, your focus should be capitalism and letting businesses hire people that are hireable for jobs. Like there's always a job. It's how much you're willing to make doing that job.
Yesterday, I was pretty much sure that Australia is going to become the next Venezuela if it goes this path.
Probably. I would like it. I would rather Australia, that happened to Australia, than the US. And the reason is because Australia has no guns. So Australia turning into Venezuela will educate the world on communism and socialism, perhaps. But if it happens in America first, and so many guns in America, that countries like Australia are going to spin it as the reason why America is Venezuela is because of guns. So if it happens because I think gun rights are very important. Gun rights is the reason why America can't have a COVID passport. It's the only reason. Australia can have it. All of Europe can have it. They can force vaccinations into you. You can't force vaccinations in America because of guns. But if the socialists destroy America and America goes into a civil war, and there is huge violence, the world is going to spin it that the country with the most guns is killing each other. Meanwhile, they're not saying that like Venezuela took away gun rights. No one talks about that. They took away gun rights 20 years ago. So it really depends on where the civil war and the breakdown of society happens in the West. Is it going to be Canada has some guns too, but is it going to be Australia or is it going to be America? It'll be a huge difference. If it happens in America first, I think the humans are fucked, because then there will never be gun rights for any person on the planet. So and then it's gonna be a straight up dictatorship across
In
the
the
world.
East, also, I tell you, they have this common saying that in America, anyone shoots anyone because they have guns.
No, that's not true at all.
But that mentality is very difficult to, explain it to people. What's the reason of the gun?
Yeah, they love to point out how much gun violence there is in America, but no one points out that there's also freedom. Like you're not going to go into the middle of West Virginia or Alabama and try to rob somebody's house. You're going to get killed.
And I tell you, people in India really love these socialist programs, because in India there's a lot of corruption and a lot of black money, and the government doesn't do shit for anyone. Like even if it has any social program, most of that is exploited by the politicians itself. And then
Right.
they feel that Australia and Canada are very good because they support the people, they give free money to the businesses and to the people. And I have very difficult time to explain them why is it so bad, because they are going to turn into like a collapsing economy essentially if they continue this path, but no one understands.
Yeah, I mean, look, India, like I think that the only crime that should be punishable by death is government corruption. If you're a government politician that's been caught in corruption, you're done. I think it's the most hideous crime. I think
Zero politics left in
I
India.
think, yeah, I think other crimes, there's rehabilitation for that. but not for government corruption. There's no rehabilitation for that. If you're a corrupt politician, you're a corrupt politician. Like there's absolutely nothing that can rehabilitate you not to be a corrupt politician. And that's the majority of politicians, unfortunately. You go into that job for the corruption. Like there's very, very few politicians that aren't corrupt. Like the whole point of doing that is to take advantage of other people.
Like
They claim they're not doing it, but most of them are.
so you think that even US politicians are corrupt?
Most of them, yeah. Most of them, yeah. I mean, look at some of them, like Dianne Feinstein. She's like 80 years old. She's selling a $4 million house. Her salary is $100-something thousand. How does she have a $4 million house? Because she's the insider trading. She knows the policy, and her husband runs a hedge fund that invests based on that stuff. I mean, this is all known, and no one does anything about it.
But what do you think the acceptable limits are for the socialist programs? Like what the limit should be for the government?
That's a good question. I don't know what the limits are, but it depends on the social programs, and also it depends on where's the money coming from, right? So here's the thing. Why can't I choose that, right? The government goes like this. I have to pay 20% of my money in taxes. Why can't I allocate where it goes? How come I can allocate my retirement fund 20% to the S&P 500, 10% to gold, 30% to whatever? Why does some government bureaucrat decide where my tax money goes, right? Why can't I do it? Why can't I log on to the IRS website and I can say, I want 10% of my taxes going to helping the homeless. And I want 3% of my taxes going towards attacking Syria, or 0% of my taxes going to attacking Syria. The government isn't letting me do that. So if the government forces some kind of a taxation, why can't I choose where the money goes? And then people will get to decide which programs are important and which aren't, and how much money those programs have.
I don't know whether you know this or not, but in Australia, I was very impressed by this thing that whenever they get a tax receipt of what the tax they have paid, they essentially get a paper on which it says what percentage of that tax has gone to this and this sector and this facility. And I was very impressed by that thing. But post COVID, Australia has, it has gone down the toilet.
Yeah. All right, guys. Anyone else want to say anything, or we're going to wrap this up? Raise your hand.
Tone, did you see they deposited like a shit ton of Bitcoins into Coinbase today, like over $1 billion worth?
Is that whole speculation rumor that it could be Apple?
Nah, that's something different. That's Apple buying, but they deposited.
I don't think Apple's buying, but so someone deposited like $1 billion worth of Bitcoin to Coinbase?
Yeah, Coinbase Pro. That's weird. I don't know. That's a bit weird.
People have money. Again, my capitulation is still anticipated.
No.
Let's see if that $1 billion gets sold. Could be Tesla getting out. They'd be stupid, but their stock would probably tank.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that capitulation. I'm ready to buy back in.
Yeah.
Still very bullish on Bitcoin.
Yeah. Who's your next guess?
I don't know. I'm trying to talk to Fibbo Swanee, trying to get him over, but I don't know.
Where you know? Where you know?
I'm in Miami. What is going on with my tech today? It's just really weird. Jeez. Yeah, I'm in Miami. I got another conference to speak at.
Shit, man. Do you get paid for the conferences?
No.
Oh.
I get they cover my room every now and then.
Your what? Your rent?
The room, like hotel room.
Cool. So right.
All right, guys. Let me get going. Fun QA, a lot more politics this time, not that much on price action. But I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording.